didn't know about this.
Or if you're old school, you go Mikadora and one of these. Yeah, no, I brought my mom there recently.
Well, I'm sure my pediatrician didn't help her out.
If you're a very large company and you need to become more efficient, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do just because nobody wants building in their backyard. You got me, man. You got me. You found me.
I really feel like we
Tell a friend.
Welcome back to Making Waves, your Tasi Bank podcast. I'm your host, Alan Gaul, and today I have a very special guest on the program, Mr. Dave Joves, the president of Tasi Bank. That's it.
Hey, everybody.
Dave is the first sitting president that has been on the program, just so you know.
How many presidents have you had?
None. But you're
Low
the first.
bar.
You are the first. Speaking of bars, no. You're a big surfer, right? We won't talk about bars, but we'll talk about surfing for a little bit. Your moniker in the office is Big Wave Dave. Not sure where that came from, but are you a toes to nose guy or is it nose to toes? I never get that right.
Toes to the nose would be you're riding the front of the board.
Okay.
Not quite me yet. Maybe someday.
All right.
So the natural progression of a lot of surfers is you start off with a small board, something short. In the 80s, it would have been something around the 5'6" range. And then gradually, as you get older, you lose your stamina. So you need more surface area to paddle on. So you slowly get bigger. Now, as that board gets bigger, it becomes less maneuverable and you're not as cool. So you compensate for that by walking yourself up to the nose and doing one of these. Okay. Toes to the nose.
Okay.
And that's your classic nose riding position. Or you can do one of these.
Wow. So much I didn't know about this.
Or if you're old school, you go Mikadora and one of these.
Best podcast, yeah. All right, so Tasi Bank Mavericks. We're Mavericks in community banking. You ever surf Mavericks?
I have not. That's it's way over my weight class. I think you have to be really good, really strong, and probably a little bit crazy.
Well, it's right down the street from
you.
It
is right down the street.
Down the beach from you. Right?
Yep. For those, I'm a Pacifica resident since 1973, off and on. Little voyage out of the woods when I was in my 20s. Like most people do, you live in the city. And then when you have your kids and the family, you got to find a suburban place to live. And it's hard to leave home. So I actually live a block away from the house that I grew up in.
Really? Wow. And the cool thing about the two of us in this room, we're both native San Franciscans.
Yeah.
We're not transplants. Born and raised in the city proper. Not too many of us left.
Children's Hospital, now Cal Pacific. They keep on changing their names.
St. Mary's Hospital, and I don't even know if it's still there.
It's still there.
Out on Stanion?
Yeah. No, I brought my mom there recently.
Well, I'm sure my pediatrician didn't help her out. All right.
Still there.
How is your mom?
Yeah, 85 years old, and with all the pluses and minuses associated with that.
And she's moved out of state, if I remember correctly.
She's going to be moving out of state. Okay. She may not remember, but in June she will find out. She will remember that.
Wow, there's going to be elder abuse on this show for sure. All right, let's talk about some banking stuff. Are there any specific trends you're seeing that business owners in California, maybe in the broader West Coast, should be paying close attention to?
I think the challenge for most business owners is really dealing with the regulation that, when compared to other states like a Florida or a Texas, that some of the mandates that come out of Sacramento can be onerous. Recently, within the last 6-7 years, banks have had an additional hurdle through the CCPA, privacy. You look at how they're using that for artificial intelligence, I think it just creates a very challenging environment and one that can be stifling to your entrepreneur.
So do you see, in terms of the broader market, a lot of businesses exiting California?
I think, yeah, I think that's going to be challenged. I think if you're big enough and you have a product that would be attractive in multiple geographies, why not? If you're a very large company and you need to become more efficient, why not at the very least move your back office to a lower cost state? It just makes sense. So I think those kind of challenges are gonna always be in place. I think the taxes are always going to be a challenge when you compare both income tax and some of the municipal taxes to places in California. I think that's always going to be a headwind for small businesses until things change, and I think that's very difficult with the given the progressive majority in Sacramento. I think that's very challenging.
So with some of the challenges in Sacramento that you spoke of, but also bringing it down to the Bay Area, we've got challenges in commercial real estate. We've got challenges in the tech sector. We've got cost of living concerns. We've got public safety concerns. What do you think about the Bay Area economy right now? Any bright spots, any red flags that we should be looking at, just from, again, that banking perspective and broad reach that you have?
So bright spots. I think the biggest thing that the Bay Area has for it is really the makeup of the Bay Area itself. So yeah, other cities may try to do what San Francisco is doing, but I think what gives San Francisco and the Bay Area an advantage is that it is naturally diverse just by our geographic position within Asia Pacific. Now I think the liberal mindset helps that. We're much more accepting of different races, colors, positions on the economic spectrum, and that breeds a melting pot, which you don't see in places like Austin or Research Triangle or Alexandria or even Boston for that matter. You know, where you can go into a restaurant, hear 3 or 4 different languages being spoken. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. And when you're trying to be a creative, find creative ideas and find that next new product, you really need a lot of different perspectives around the table so you can generate that idea. So if you got a homogeneous makeup of your group, you're going to have 1 or 2 ideas coming out of that. So,
absolutely.
And that's very difficult to recreate. So that I think that's a benefit. That's a competitive advantage that the Bay Area that will be a high barrier to entry for other geographies. Yeah, on the challenges, I mean, like you mentioned, whatever the 5 were, they're all significant challenges. I think probably the one that hits most is cost of living. Yep. So housing is going to be a big component of that. You know, in addition to today's price of eggs and milk and everything else that you buy at the grocery store, I think trying to solve that housing problem is probably the most specific, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do just because nobody wants building in their backyard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you become a homeowner, then like your number one issue is traffic. In Pacifica, we always get that. We get no, let's not build here. It's going to be traffic. Yeah, so, and it's not just low income housing that's the issue, and the supply. I think you just got to build housing across the board to increase that supply.
So going back to San Francisco,
you got me, man. You got me. You found me. So those that I've been chased down by our staff photographer.
That is true. This is live too, right? So Dave always hides from the photographer, and he caught me. The photographer Henrik. You should just jump in, so you can just.
Yeah, I saw you guys scheming.
There you go.
I saw you guys scheming.
So Dave finally gets his photo taken.
Yeah. I try to avoid it.
He does hate photo day. All right, so while he's doing that, let me get back to a question about the Bay Area. So, we're headquartered in downtown San Francisco. You and I were out walking to a meeting earlier today. What do you see with the commercial real estate market specifically in downtown, just given where we are, our role as bankers within the community?
So there's a lot to be said about downtown San Francisco. A lot of it is negative. I think what I'm seeing is that from a downtown office perspective, which has really been the sore spot for us, I think that's clearly past the bottom. I think that the trades now are higher than where they were a year ago. This building that we're at, 400 Montgomery, recently traded at a severe discount from where it last traded in 2018-ish, but a lot more than the Union Bank building around the corner. So that, I think, is a positive in that we've found the bottom where I think we have some room to go. In a negative way is probably some of the bigger leases that are out there that were on 10-year leases, 7-year leases that were signed prior to the pandemic. Those have to roll, and then the tenants will make a decision on whether or not they stay, go, cut it in half. Chances are it's unlikely they're going to take the same space that they had prior to the pandemic. So I think you're going to see some supply hit the market. The good news is that fourth quarter of 2024, we had some positive absorption in the market. So not much, but it was still, to characterize it, I think we're still trying to find our bottom in terms of leasing.
So in terms of leasing, at least for the upcoming quarter, what do you see interest rates in the credit markets look like? Is it a good time for borrowers to borrow, or should they take a more cautious approach?
Well, you should always be cautious and, don't take money. I think the easy, where I would have been, take the money.
Yep.
It was when it would have been in 21, 22, before interest rates started to rise, because we're unlikely to ever see that kind of interest rate environment again where Fed funds was close to zero. But I think if you have the right product, right idea, right opportunity, then it's always going to be a good time to borrow. That being said, I know that there's a lot of hope and speculation that interest rates are gonna go down. I think that we're probably close to the bottom on our interest rate cycle too. CPI came out last week and it was at 3%, ahead of and higher than what the Fed would like it to be. I think there's probably more risk to inflation going up than it coming down at this point. There's a lot of noise going on, so it's hard to say. And that was just one reading, so it's not enough to establish a trend. But is there a good time to borrow? If there's a good deal and that's the mechanism that gets you to finding your dreams, then yes, always be that.
They find them, we finance them.
Correct. Good story. Why don't you put that in the tagline?
So for 25, what are we looking at in terms of how we're positioning the bank for the months ahead, just on the short term?
On the short term?
Yeah, any new initiatives you want to talk about or strategies that might help clients navigate the current economic landscape?
Well, right now, I mean, we're in the Bay Area specifically. We're still got a little post-COVID hangover. So it looks like the businesses that we would finance have stabilized, have started to improve, but it's a while before they get to the pre-pandemic heights. In terms of the overall economy, 2025 will be a decent year. I think GDP runs around that 2 to 2.5%, which is solid. It's a good economic environment to do business. I don't think you're fighting anything, any tremendous headwinds. But it's one of those areas that if you're cautious and you know what you're doing, then yeah, it's good. We are projecting a 2% growth for our budget. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the program. Is there anything else you want to say to our vast listening audience? I think we have 4 subscribers, and I'm one of them.
Right on. Well, this is the start of something new.
Okay.
And we'll try to make it interesting and valuable to you awesome group of 4 listeners.
I really feel like we
Tell a friend.
I feel like we should document your mom's journey because, she's going to end up in out of state without even realizing it. But she's going to be with your sister, right?
Yeah, she's going to be with my sister.
Wow. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Until next time, keep making waves.